It's President Macron, Prime Minister Modi. Viewers, for decades, Indian defense procurement operated under an invisible but powerful constraint. And that was, in simple terms, the fear of scandal. The fear of middlemen being caught paying kickbacks on behalf of defense firms to sway government and military officials to swing lucrative defense contracts. In the 1980s, the rupees 64 crore Bofors scandal marked the Indian defense establishment's descent into the mire of arms corruption and pockmarked the legacy of then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Since then, from artillery to helicopters to submarines, allegations, proven or unproven, have cast such long shadows that decision makers began preferring delay over decisiveness, not even concluding defense deals. Most of these cases that you can see on your screens erupted during the Congress-led UPA years. I'm talking about the VVIP chopper case of 2012, an alleged 3,000 crore deal for 12 VVIP helicopters. There's an alleged bribery link. Big companies and big players here in India were incriminated. Because there are other examples also, and let me run you through some of them. Beyond the VVIP chopper case, there was the Tatra truck procurement scandal that erupted in 2012. Allegations were raised by ex-Army Chief General V.K. Singh on irregularities in all-terrain vehicle supply. The CBI, however, closed the probe in 2014. No charge sheet was filed. There are other cases, viewers, and they litter the firmament. The result of this hesitancy that these scandals induced manifested in what many in uniform privately called a default veto on big ticket acquisitions. After controversies such as the VVIP helicopter case involving Augusta Westland or procurement news that led to prolonged investigations by the CBI, files slowed and extensions multiplied. A.K. Antony, Defence Minister during the UPA years, openly admitted to this paralysis that threatened to blunt India's military edge. Viewers, against that backdrop, the Modi government seems like a breath of fresh air. And viewers, over the last many years now, there have been several procurements that have been made by the Modi government. The S-400 missile defense system was procured October 2018. India and Russia concluded that contract. I can run you through once again a whole list of them. Then, viewers, the M777 ultralight howitzers. Those were procured. May 2015, the deal was cleared under the Defence Minister, then Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar with United States. The contract was signed in 2016. Then you had the entire series of Rafale fighter jets procurements, viewers. In 2016, fresh deal for 36 Rafale fighters in flyaway condition was inked by the Modi government. Then you had the big one, the Rafale marine version. April 2025, India and France signed a 63,000 crore mega deal to buy 26 Rafale marine aircraft. The Guardian drones, the Apache and Chinook helicopters. In 2015, the Finance Ministry gave its nod to acquire these 22 Apache attack and 15 Chinook heavy deployment helicopters with over 13 price extensions. And all of this was bought without the whiff of scandal, viewers. Allegations were made, but they were thrown out by the Supreme Court, specifically with regards to the Rafale first series of purchases. Now, viewers, today, another deal has been consolidated, and let's pull out those numbers. And this is for, viewers, a whole plethora now of weapon systems. So you have the Rafale fighter jet, the Mark 1.8, and this graphic, if you can just animate it, it animates, viewers, and it's very prettily done. I have to say, and you can see the afterburner burning in this graphics. It also rotates. The avionics are top class. The speed, as I told you, is top class. You also had air-to-air missiles, the Meteor missile, which is a beyond visual range missile, viewers, that has been procured. You have had the MICA, or the short range all aspect missile. These are air to ground weapons, the Scalp, Hammer, laser guided bombs, several different weapon deals, viewers, have been signed. Instead of freezing procurement in anticipation of political backlash, the NDA under Modi has gone ahead, albeit by pursuing a different approach. It has cut out the middleman, cut out procurement from the open market. It has adopted an institutional mechanism preferring government to government procurement. This has ensured that military modernization could not remain hostage to the fear of corrupt practices. Whether one agrees with the method, the uptick in strategic purchases suggests a system that seems to have finally broken the cycle of scandal-induced stagnation or paralysis. The BJP makes that distinction very, very clear, viewers. And listen in to this soundbite from one of the BJP's national spokespeople.
Under UPA and Congress tenures, defence purchases were always subject to P&D, that is paralysis and dalali. Either no decisions were taken for modernization or for acquiring the most advanced weapon systems, or if the decisions were taken, they were usually subjected to dalali and kickbacks, because the most important factor in defence purchases was the M factor, which was the middleman factor. And therefore we saw how India's defence arsenal suffered. Our armed forces did not have the modern equipment that they needed. Even vital supplies were low. And now, under the Modi government, we are seeing that there's a transition.
There's a transition, viewers. And let's open this up, because this UPA era Dalal streak has been broken. And this is the fundamental issue here, viewers. New energy. For years altogether, our national security was being undermined. And I want to begin with Tehseen Poonawalla, who worked very closely with UPA ministers during that time in different capacities. And in fact, you even saw scandal breaking out under your nose, the CWG scandal. Tehseen, and you were involved with a minister at that time who was therefore indicted later in that particular scandal. So you know the situation, and you can sort of suggest that, look, those cases didn't amount to much, this, that, the other. But the fact is that you had someone like the former Defence Minister A.K. Antony coming out and saying that, look, we were scared, we were mortified. And that is a very bad advertisement. You might have accused Mr. Modi of undermining India's defence capacities, but you cannot say that he did so to line his own pockets or benefit some middleman. Tehseen Poonawalla, there's a huge difference.
Good evening, Rahul. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Just one clarification. I didn't work very closely with any minister. Just one of those who are very good friends of mine, and the case was dismissed. And it was said there was nothing in it. And I don't blame the BJP for raising CWG. It was one of the snakes in the Congress who had raised it at that point, and then the BJP took it up. So that's a different issue altogether. I think CWG 2010 was the finest sporting event at that time India had. So I want to move on from that. I think I'm happy that India is acquiring the Rafales. I'll be honest. I am a patriot. I think my nation should be strengthened, and I think the government-to-government deal is very good. I'm glad the 114 Rafales, though I don't understand why 26 are double-seater. So why would that's obviously for training? Why do you need so many for training? So 88 plus 26. I have not understood the reason for 26 required for training. 88 I understand, but there are some key questions that we need to ask. and I'm asking them as my duty in the opposition, what is our plan for preparing for the fifth generation threats that we face? Because this is 4.5. We already know that China has US has the F-35s. China has their planes which are stealth. So what is our plan for that? Second, with regards to the spares out here, we haven't got what is the spare program that France has given, that hasn't been put at all, so that India does not suffer that. With France, it's a reliable ally of ours, like Russia. Of course, Russia has sanctions. You can't really rely on the United States. We know what happens there. So with France, we have reliability, but what is our spare program? Because this will work for the next 40 years. And the third and the most important point, what is indigenization? While I understand that it's a term that has been central to India, what percentage, while the government claims 50-60, is this Make in India program, or is this Assembly in India? And one last thing, what is the level of tech transfer? Because at the end of the day, we also know in Operation Sindoor, I'll just end here, the BrahMos which actually hammered Pakistan were on the Sukhois, which we actually got done, not on the Rafales. The Rafales had the scalp. So what is it that we plan to do? How do we plan to put our missiles on the Rafales? What is our next generation? I think the government needs to be clear to put it out. But the most critical question is the fifth generation.
The question is, look, we can talk about fifth and sixth and all of that. And there
fifth
is, of course,
important.
look, of course, I'm not in any way suggesting it isn't. The sixth generation, some people are moving to, by the way. But the point is not that tonight, viewers. The point is, we have been playing catch up. Because two things happen. Number one, there was a disincentivization of indigenous production that went on in the name of insulating our defense industry from outside glare. So that happened, viewers. And on the other side, there were middlemen who were actually hanging out inside the defense ministry corridors. They had such access. It took the Modi government to come out in 2015 with a ban on people accessing openly the defense ministry and the bureaucrats in there. And at that time, viewers, it was seen as a huge move against freedom of expression, journalists who couldn't go in and get out the news and so on and so forth. I think Dr. Ranganathan might remember this. It became a huge controversy. Oh, journalists and all of those people can't go in, they can't inspect the files, they'll never be able to get out the story. This has been another attempt at distancing the media from the news. So, Dr. Ranganathan, I can understand that we can talk about whether this will enhance our Make in India program or undermine it and all of that. Those are questions that remain and they're legitimate questions. But tonight, we're talking about an issue which threatened at one time to undermine any dream of even meeting the threats from across the border.
No, absolutely, Rahul. You said it. Good evening to you and to my fellow panelists. I speak here purely as a layman. The Rafale procurement, I believe, is important, even crucial, to maintain our air superiority, and it should not be seen in isolation. I think that's the problem many are making, including from the Congress. Remember, our sanctioned squadron strength is 42, and we have only 30 right now. It is also 29. A fact that from importing 70% of defense equipment in the 1990s, we are at a stage where 70% of the defense equipment is indigenously procured. And this has to do with the vision and foresight of Dr. Kalam and his self-reliance index, not any politician. Fact is, we are increasingly indigenizing, even exporting armaments. BrahMos being just one example, and the day is not far when we won't need to buy foreign-made fighter jets. I hope that day comes soon. But till that day, we can't sit back and be vulnerable to our enemy's design. Now, point number 2. Rafale is a test case, Rahul, of how your namesake, Rahul Gandhi, tried to run a narrative of corruption and failed miserably. The 4.5 generation dynast was doubting the 4.5 generation fighter. Who can forget that Rahul Gandhi was tweeting that cropped newspaper article by that Chinese editor not yet arrested like Tellis, that alleged Rafale wrongdoing by the late Manohar Parrikar. To repeat the words of the Supreme Court in this judgment, we are thus of the view that the review petitions are without any merit and are accordingly dismissed. On point after point, Rahul was delivered slap after slap. that the center did not use false documents, that the question regarding the price was a mere suspicion, that the petitioners saw themselves as an appellate authority, that the court did not see a fit case for registration of FIR under section 156(3), dead and buried 6 feet under. Now let me come very briefly to this industrial scale liar called Rahul Gandhi. He thought if he could keep repeating the lie that Ambani was given 30,000 crores and all the Rafale's offsets, he would be able to hide the fact that Ambani was given only 850 crores and that the offsets were distributed among 72 companies, HAL included. Remember what he told Air Force pilots, flashing the fraudulent and cropped document of a hammer and sickle newspaper? Let me quote him verbatim. He said, quote, "Pilots, remember one thing. This 30,000 crore could be given to you when you die in a plane crash," unquote. But neither Ambani nor the Supreme Court punished him in the end, and Rahul Gandhi is therefore free to keep on repeating these lies and also inventing new ones. Now he knows there is no penalty to pay for demeaning and slandering even the Supreme Court. The Honorable Supreme Court should have set an example, Rahul, but chose pity over punishment, and that is the tragedy in this country.
Well, let me bring in Akashdeep Muni, Mr. Muni, and there's Shazia Ilmi of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the national spokesperson. Mr. Muni, let me elaborate on certain points. Tehseen Poonawalla talked about Make in India. Well, under the UPA in the final year, the exports, defense exports, were capped at 1,500 crores. That's where we were. There's been a 10-fold jump in 10 years. We're now sitting at 21,000 crores, sir. 21,000 crores. That is happening because middlemen are out of the picture. The same middlemen who incentivized purchasing from abroad and incentivized production at home. That's how things have changed, Mr. Muni. And you say that Mr. Modi has surrendered India's national security. Can you explain how, sir? The numbers speak something very different. And here, viewers, the hard facts do the talking.
Yes, with pleasure. First of all, good evening, Rahulji and my fellow panelists. Rahulji, today you were talking about, your headline was talking about BJP era deals, defense deals. I'm sure you should have cited in your opening remarks regarding Bangaru Lakshman, the BJP president who was caught on camera taking bribe for Sukhoi 6,500 crore defense deal. So ये आप दिखा देते तो अच्छा रहता, but चलो, anyway. You also should have shown the Kargil for profit coffin scam done by Bharatiya Janata Party NDA ruled government. पर चलो, ये भी नहीं दिखाया. चलो ठीक है. Now let me come to the UPA era deal versus NDA era deal. Very good. NDA paid 40% more per jet rather than UPA. That is 217 million euro versus 155 million euro under UPA government. That too without transfer of technology or HAL being involved. Now tell me, what happened to Atmanirbhar Bharat? Will the media and the so-called analysts will ask to the government? No, they'll accolade. Atmanirbhar Bharat, छोड़ दो, कोई बात नहीं. Transfer technology, छोड़ दो. It did not happen. I request your viewers to check my facts on Google because your show is all about hard facts.
Google?
Yes.
You want me to check on Google?
Yes, they can check it.
Sir, WhatsApp पे भी check कर सकते हैं. Google पे क्यों partial हो रहे? I can check on WhatsApp. I mean, Wikipedia is this gentleman's source, viewers.
Let me complete, if you allow. The GDP investment in defense has come down from 2.3% during UPA regime to 2% in NDA regime. This particular Modi government, which is why capex in defense has been is a problem. And today we are talking about numbers. If you're talking about numbers, talk about percentage of the GDP figure and show to the country that bhai investment कम हुआ है, बढ़ा नहीं है. हम झूठ ना बोले. Remember
Investment कहाँ की investment कह रहे हैं? विदेश से.
has been indigenously developed because of the UPA era regime, not NDA.
Okay.
Let's tell the facts to the viewers.
Okay, I just want to come in.
Okay, yeah, please, Shazia,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, Akarshi, you tried really hard and you faltered. The more you tried, the more you failed. And I don't know, I cannot even imagine that you can even defend this because Congress rule was known for corruption, and defense deal and procurement meant major corruption and big scams. And it was all about dalals and middlemen. That is, and Rahul Shivshankar has mentioned Tatra and Augusta Westland and Scorpion and what have you, starting from Bofors. Now, after the Bofors induction in 80s, no major artillery gun was inducted. So many tenders were cancelled or stalled, and most of them written by scams. So whether when we look at Modi regime, I mean, it's a complete transformation. One could not imagine that this would be possible. Even somebody like me could not imagine, who was who joined BJP in 14, could imagine that this would actually happen. That it could be a possibility. There could be a corruption-free deal, especially with defense. So no system is above scrutiny, but there have been structural reforms. There is government to government frameworks. There are very good acquisition procedures, protocols. There's review. And so there is a lot of discretion, and there is no scope whatsoever for middlemen. And the whole process, the difference is that there is some integrity in the process and also execution. There is speed. So it's like also, unlike the procurement paralysis, there is, we are getting more and more combat ready. Now, talking about defense exports, you must know this, it was approximately 686 crores. And these are the MOD figures. This is not from Google or WhatsApp or what have you. These are MOD figures, defense exports, 686 crores, 2013 to 14, the last year of UPA-2 regime. Modi government, starting from 2017, it went up to 4,682 crores to now, it kept on increasing to now it's 21,000 crores, as just mentioned by Rahul. So we're looking at a huge jump here and increase. And we're looking at artillery systems, we're looking at missile systems, we're looking at radars and ammunition. Now Akashdeep, India is exporting actually to more than 85 countries.
I think
so. Instead of being a defense buyer and buyer through middlemen, we are positioning ourselves and have positioned ourselves as a producer, as an exporter.
You see, what he gets wrong.
Dependence is not there. Domestic capacity
Doctor,
is there.
yeah.
And we are largest.
Okay, one second. Let's not speak over each other. I just want to make one point, viewers, and there are many hands raised on the panel. There's Doctor and also Tehseen. Tehseen Poonawalla, it's not about whether, we are spending more now than we did earlier on defense as part of, as a percentage of GDP. I think what we should be looking at is whether India is finally converting that expenditure into capability and a degree of industrial depth. And there is no doubt that Atmanirbharta has grown.
Again, there are two different ways of looking at it. And I agree with one part of the spectrum, but let me just say I agree with what Dr. Akash Muni said. The highest defense spending percentage of GDP happened.
You're confusing two issues.
No. I know. I'm saying
it has remained between.
I agree with
it has remained between 1.8 and 2.3%. It doesn't matter. You can be. Yes, but what did it bring us?
For the 10 years,
what did it bring us? What did it bring us? Did it really lead to a leap in exports? Did it even lead to a leap in purchases? Did it help in modernizing our military?
Yes. Where did the Hercules come? The C-130s. We landed them at the highest runway in the world. When did the other programs come in? Listen, the fact of the matter, the Sukhoi, for example.
C-130...
May I finish, Rahul? May I finish, Rahul? The BJP spokesperson said, nothing came after Bofors. First of all, we got the BrahMos that we upgraded.
No, we're not talking about all of that. Let's not. Yeah.
Rahul,
just answer the...
May I just make a couple of points, Rahul? May I just make a couple of points? The BrahMos today, which we very proudly are exporting to Philippines and other nations, let's understand the joint venture and the production, the Sukhoi's production, etc., started under UPA and under the previous Congress governments, not this government. So let's not say, I am not saying that our defense exports have not gone out. I completely agree with you. I am not saying that we are not a net exporter exporter today versus the net importers. The numbers show that. I agree with the government.
Then
But it's not
where's
that
the
it
debate?
happened. But it then, one second, but not happened overnight. It is a process of many governments.
Dr.
Just one
Ranganathan,
question.
you want to
I have
respond
one
to
question
that?
for the BJP spokesperson. This is one line.
Ordinance Factory Board was the
Can you give me
government
one
department at
line,
that point of
doctor?
time.
If you just give me one
Today
line.
it works as a
The
corporate
BJP
entity.
spokesperson says.
It works as a
Can you
corporate
just answer one
entity
specific question?
And
He's asking you a specific question. Hear him out. Yeah.
yes.
The contours of the deal that we aren't aware to hopes to do 50 to 60% indigenization in India. Can you tell us, in this private companies, is it going to be the same Dassault company that was earlier charged and their owners gone bankrupt, or some other company, which is the JV? Tell us. As a taxpayer, I want to know.
First of all,
Okay, one second.
No, don't say it.
One
Allow
second.
BJP to
The
speak.
conversation,
I'm going to
viewers.
ask
One
you
second.
about-
I just want to come in here. It's a government-to-government arrangement, viewers.
No, I'm not going to manufacture.
One second. Everything will be made public. Everything
So
will
when
be
you
made
don't
public.
know-
That is not. No,
so
one
when you
second. That is
don't-
not the question tonight.
So
The
when you
question
don't
is.
know, don't
The
use the
question.
UPA.
Okay. Tehseen
The
Punara,
UPA
please
did it with
look.
Sukhoi,
Again, by innuendo, you led a campaign against Modi in 2019. The Supreme Court had to throw it out. So let's
They
not
land on
always supplant innuendo where facts can prevail. So
They
that,
land on-
allow
they
me,
land on
allow
Bofors.
me, allow me,
Four
allow me.
international courts threw it out.
Okay.
Four
The point is,
international
the
courts
point
threw
is,
Bofors out.
the point is, viewers, the fact of the matter is, we are not here comparing scams and who went to jail. We are talking
Bofors was
about,
not a scam.
we are talking about an attitude which resulted in us losing an edge for a while. Yes, doctor,
They
you
did
want to
not
make
try
a point.
scuttle the nuclear deal?
Did I just hear Tehseen say Bofors was not a scam? Sorry,
Not a
Tehseen.
scam. Four international courts. Do you know the BJP tried to scuttle nuclear deal? They should be ashamed of themselves, the BJP.
One second.
Four international courts threw Bofors out. The Delhi High Court said you spent 400 crores for a Tathakathic 60 crore scam. Nothing came out.
Tehseen, please, 1 second. It's
Sure,
not.
sure. But I know what your answer is. I know your answer, but I'll let you say it. I know your answer. That's a good answer. I know it, but I'll let you say it.
Now, I don't know. This is kind of preempting that I've never seen before. The fact is, AE Services accepted kickbacks, and the AE Services was owned by Quattroki. Now, I'm stating facts, but the Bofors is passé, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm talking right now, and this is the difference. I access and base my opinion on Google. Somebody bases their opinion on Pagal. This is the difference. When you talk about the deal that UPA was going to strike, that in fact, it should have struck. It had 8 years to strike that deal. It didn't, because its defense leaders could not decide how much kickback they needed. The fact is, did or did not the CAG look into this aspect? Of course it did. And what did the CAG find? This is where Dr. Muni is selective because of his agenda. I challenge him to say, did CAG not find that the NDA deal was 2.86% cheaper? झूठ बोल के आपको लगता है WhatsApp यूनिवर्सिटी का सब लोग
I'm not going to bring out people, viewers, who are Googling away. I'm just going to give you some facts. Just listen to this, viewers. This is February 6, 2014. And we are talking about then Defense Minister A.K. Antony, who said there is no money left for major defense procurement, including the Rafale. These are his words, not mine, viewers. In fact, on March 13th, 2018, Mr. Poonawala sitting here on this show filed an FIR, PIL in SC demanding independent probe into the deal, into the Rafale deal.
Yes.
Yes.
I withdrew it.
And what happened? And what happened?
No, I withdrew it.
One second. Rahul Gandhi then picks up the baton and termed the Rafale deal the biggest ever defense scam, and alleged PM Modi was a partner in corruption during a Congress protest led by Sonia Gandhi. And guess what happens, viewers? The Supreme Court rejected the Rafale review petition, and Rahul Gandhi demanded JPC to probe the deal. This is in November 2019, and he had to apologize for using the word Chaukidar Chor hai. Faced contempt. That's how things ended up, viewers. In 2019, we're not talking about too far back in time. Anyhow, the fact is, viewers, and I have said this before, I think what one has to look at is not how much money was spent, etc., etc. It is what that money helped us achieve. Did that expenditure convert into capability? That's the fundamental question. Yeah, okay, quickly.
You're absolutely Rahul, but I like to add, it's not the fact, and look at the CAG report. I've read the CAG report. In terms of getting the maximum bang for the buck, the NDA deal turned out to be better. That is the thing. It's not that we spent more, it's that we have got more from, what we've bought.
Yeah, but that has all been selectively.
Technology in the first 30
That is all
We have it here.
selectively left out, viewers. There's a sweet.
And also, I
There
think,
is a-
okay.
For fairness, give me 30 seconds.
No,
In the
there's
first-
no fairness here, because you are just
For fairness,
shooting,
for
you are
fairness, give me 30
shooting,
seconds.
you are shooting and
No,
scooting
no,
out of
I'm
this.
shooting
I'm
like
moving
the
on,
Ramos.
because I
They
need
are
to
on target.
look. I need to also look at other stories, please. Look, you had your day in the sun. You moved the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court didn't find merit. Now let sleeping dogs lie. Let's just move on, viewers, because there is an important story I want to talk about. Across decades, viewers, the Congress party has claimed the mantle of secularism, presenting itself as the custodian of constitutional propriety. Yet every few years, and I'm not talking about a statement, a loose remark, that aside, a policy decision, an executive decision, forces us to ask whether Congress's secularism is even-handed or is it selective. The latest flashpoint comes from Telangana, where the Congress government has granted Muslim government employees the permission to leave offices and schools an hour earlier during Ramzan. Supporters call it administrative sensitivity during a month of fasting. So viewers, now what's going to happen is that there is a work relaxation for a second year in a row for Muslims specifically. The government order says Muslims only, Muslim employees will be given an hour off earlier so that they can go and pray during the holy month of Ramzan, starting in a few days, viewers. Now, it's not about somebody getting time off, etc., etc. This is, viewers, state-sanctioned religious preference. At least that's what critics are calling it. And if this SOP was a one-off, it could have been treated as the exception that proves the rule. And there are many. Let's go back to the visuals. But there's a pattern, and this relaxation also follows closely on the heels of renewed advocacy for expanded Muslim quotas, if you remember, which are illegal. The opposition has seized on the move as evidence of a pattern recalling earlier debates during the Manmohan Singh era over minority-first welfare formulations and long-running accusations that Congress calibrates governance through a minute communal lens when electorally expedient. The question is whether the state can afford to appear faith-specific in its executive decision-making. The other big question is whether targeted accommodation entrenches the very Hindu-Muslim binary that the Congress claims to reject. Shouldn't the Congress roll back this identity politics that is masquerading as policy, and that too as secularism, viewers? Fundamental question tonight. Let me open this up, and I want to first begin with Dr. Ranganathan on this. Dr. Ranganathan, look, we have a situation where the community, one community, gets to work less. It's a communal work subsidy, as I call it. So you want to give minority quotas and now a communal work subsidy. How is this secular? I want to understand this.
Well, this is as secular as the government giving Hajj subsidies, the government organizing iftar parties. This is as secular as the government doling out monthly salaries to Maulvis and Imams, costing the exchequer lakhs of crores. This is as secular as our taxpayers' money being spent for Waqf survey. What are you talking about secularism? India was never secular. This pretense that was started by the Congress is sham pseudo-secularism. Secularism means a complete difference between the church and state. The state will have nothing to do with religion, and religion will have nothing to do with state. Here it is intertwined. And I tell you the tragedy right now, Rahul, is just 10 seconds I'll take, but over and above what I want to speak. The fact is the Hindu candle is burning at both ends. Not just at one end where you are appeasing the Muslims, but at the other end where you're actively discriminating against the Hindus. Now, if there were vacations given or sobs given during Navratras, this country would have been declared a fascist Hindu Rashtra. People would have been talking, look, this is new India, where Hindus are made to work less because they are fasting. But out here, nobody bats an eyelid, nobody is outraged. This is the problem where appeasement right now has switched from welfare to wokefare and right now warfare. And this right here is the tragedy. There is not a single constitutional legal clause or law that actively discriminates against Muslims. But they are the ones who are shouting from the rooftops, Darawa Musalman, we are being discriminated against. I can list out 4 constitutional legal laws that discriminate against Hindus. Starting from the Places of Worship Act, starting from the RTE 93rd Amendment, starting from the Waqf Act, starting from so many judicial pronouncements. But nobody bats an eyelid. This is the problem in this country. In the garb of secularism, you keep on appeasing one minority after another, decades upon decades, and then you say, at the end of it, this is new India. The real fascists are the Hindus.
Mr. Abbas, the Telangana Chief Minister, his government for the second year running passes this order. How is this secular, sir? This communal work subsidy, how is it secular?
I'm glad, Rahul, that you asked me how is it secular. I really wish when you ask the same question to Yogi Adityanath ji, when he finds there are state-funded madrasas. If Congress does Muslim appeasement, why is Yogi Adityanath following suit? Aren't there mullahs and imams in UP which are being funded by the state of Uttar Pradesh? The fact of the matter, this exposes the duplicity and hypocrisy of people like Anand Ranganathan. Respected sir, when you give skewed meanings of secular, tell me why does Yogi Adityanath spend 195.89 crore for the grand Diwali celebrations in Ayodhya, out of which 133 crore has been sanctioned by Union. Sir, I did not interrupt you. Kindly have patience. Not just that. Kindly tell me, why does the BJP even have Muslim reservations? Are you even aware, sir, that Gujarat for the last 25 years, for Muslim caste, there are reservations of jobs? Not just that. Madhya Pradesh, 20 years, BJP chief ministers, they have reservations. Assam, UP, Manipur, why do you have reservations? Take it all off. Let us all stand united in that front. When Bhajpa kare to pyar, Congress kare to war, ye kaisa atyachar? This reeks of absolute duplicity and hypocrisy. And I think my friend Anand Ranganathan should apologize today for taking only one side. Why don't you take on the BJP for this front?
Okay.
Why are there state-funded
Mr. Abbas,
madrasas in UP?
Mr. Abbas,
Answer me.
Okay, you need to, great. Thank you for giving us a litany of so-called infractions of the secular code. Right, that's great. The BJP has much to answer for. You accuse it of being a communal organization most often. So it is actually playing to type. But the Congress calls itself a secular organization. So I want you to explain. Yes, the BJP can be faulted. Dr. Anand Ranganathan attacks it on a daily basis for doing very little. He's written a book, in fact, a whole account of how Hindus have become, 7th or 8th class citizens or what have you in this country, 8th class citizens. And it's a national bestseller. You can read how the state, including the BJP-run state, has let down Hindus. So we know all of that. So
I'd
thank
like
you.
to answer that.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to
So
answer.
I want to ask
Thank
you,
you.
sir,
Most welcome.
how do two
Most
wrongs,
welcome, Rahul sir.
if you think that what the BJP does is a wrong, it plays with secular values, how do two wrongs make a right? Mr. Revanth Reddy and
Same
Mr.
question.
Rahul Gandhi hang around with a constitution and they say this is our Bible. This is our Bible, right? They
I
say
will answer
that.
that, Rahul
Do they not
Fair
say that?
question.
They say that. So
I
then
will
why
answer that. Fair
are they
question.
going against the tenets of their Bible, which is the constitution, according to them?
Absolutely, sir. Allow me to please
Can I
answer
respond to
within
your
30
one?
seconds. Like Rahul Gandhi and Revant Reddy, who take the Constitution of India in their hand at the drop of the hat, so too are Adharaniya Pradhan Mantri Modi ji, Yogi ji, Amit Shah ji. They are
Sir,
also
I'm asking you to
constant
explain
supporters
how
of the
this
Constitution
fits.
of India.
Do you accept that this particular work, and I've called it deliberately something, work subsidy, so to speak, is it secular or communal? Just answer this question.
I absolutely believe that both the Congress party and the BJP, both of them are
There.
answerable for this front,
Now, viewers,
not just one
Can I
party.
please
look at
respond to
this
the
gentleman.
The
Look at
problem
this
comes
gentleman. He
when
talks about
my friend Anand
secularism.
Ranganathan
He talks
speaks
about
only
how
one
he's hurt
side.
by the fact that the
Only
BJP
one
rides
side.
roughshod over
Only one
secular
side.
policies. Yet when it comes to calling out the Congress, he can't. He
I have
stumbles,
called
he
out.
stutters,
I
he
have
wants
called
to
out
hyphenate.
and I've been
No,
categorical
you should
there.
tell me that this
I've
should
been
be rolled
absolutely
back. If you
categorical.
believe in
I've
true
been absolutely
secularism,
categorical.
excuse me, if you believe in true
I've called out
secularism, two
both.
questions to you. Number one, should this be rolled back? Number one. Number two, should there therefore be a uniform civil code? Two questions, simple.
Allow me to apprise my friends on the panel. Yogi Adityanath ji does a 20-hour
Adityanath
work
ji.
schedule on during Navratri.
Okay, that's,
and a
you know,
9-hour fast.
now
Allow me
viewers,
to just speak my
I
point.
asked two
Allow me to
straight
make my
questions
point.
and these
I will
gentlemen,
answer you.
this gentleman
Allow me,
has not
sir.
been able to
Allow
answer
me.
a straight,
I need 10 seconds to articulate,
unqualified
right?
answer. No, I'm leaving it at that
Allow me
because
10
I'm
seconds, I
wasting
will
my
answer.
time. I want to go
Allow
back
me
to
10
Dr.
seconds, I will
Ranganathan.
answer.
You wanted to make a point, Dr. Ranganathan, and then there's Tehseen also there. I'll bring him in. Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. The problem with my good friend Abbas is that he's like the thousands who come prepared thinking that they are going to expose my hypocrisy. My problem is that I am not a hypocrite. Now, he raised 2 points. Number one, nobody has criticized BJP and Yogi Adityanath more. In fact, I have included Hemanta Biswa as well for running madrasas. I've said it on record, and as Rahul said, I've written a book criticizing and lampooning the BJP for appeasing as much as or little bit less than the Congress. Now, point number two. When you
Why
say,
didn't you say it today, Anand?
No, I didn't
Say it
interrupt.
today,
I did
now.
my
Okay,
point.
Mr. Abbas,
why
let's
you did
not trivialize issues. Let's not be silly about this. Let's keep it a little, make at least a pretense of keeping it intelligent.
Yes.
Just a
And this is
pretense.
how-
That's all. Indulge me. At least pretend to be. It's okay. Yes, doctor.
And this is just half the burn. Abbas, wait for the ending. Now, Abbas says, why is it that Yogi Adityanath celebrates Diwali? Why is it that celebrates Kumbh or Showers Petal? The fact of the matter is, when he does that, he is spending a fraction of what the state leeches from the Hindu temples only. Otherwise, you have the guts today, Abbas, to say that mosques should also come under state control. Then I will say, yes, give songs to the Muslims.
Yes, mosque should come under state control.
Okay.
Mosque
Yes,
should come
Tehseen
under state
Poonawala.
control. You've not heard my previous debate.
Tehseen Poonawala.
That's your problem.
Yeah, okay.
You should
Okay.
hear my
Tehseen
previous
Poonawala.
debates.
Do you
Mosque,
think this
Gurdwara,
subsidy
churches,
should
all
be
of them should come
withdrawn
under state
post
control.
haste? Should it be withdrawn post haste, Tehseen Poonawala? If the Congress swears by secularism. Simple question, straightforward.
The Congress swears by secularism, and this is one of the most secular acts of the Congress party. Okay. Allow me to explain why, and let me tell you why. But first, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, I actually have read your book, and it's strange that since 2014, Hindus in India are not safe after having the most powerful man in the universe as the Prime Minister. Therefore, my friend Abbas should be soon in government so that he can keep our Hindu brothers safe. But more important, look, I agree Congress is a bad party, rotten party. Congress should be thrown out completely. They are a communal party. But in next to Telangana's Andhra Pradesh, BJP is in power, Abbas. BJP is also doing it. And BJP there, their spokesperson says, Sabka Saab, Sabka Vikas, go at 4 o'clock. The BJP is saying it in Andhra Pradesh. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, go home at 4 o'clock. So Rahul, the point is, ऐसा कोई सगा नहीं जिसको भाजपा ने ठगा नहीं. Let's leave भाजपा out. इस हमाम में हम सब खड़े हुए हैं. But the only question is that if India truly wants to be secular, let's make temples and mosques free of government control.
So one second. If India has to be truly secular, should we not adopt the uniform civil code?
I am for it.
I am for it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm
glad. Allow me. I am for it. The BJP should come on your show and apologize for saying that a Hindu man in Goa can get married second time after 30 if he doesn't have a male child. This is a UCC, the BJP's UCC in
Okay,
Goa.
okay.
The BJP should come on your show and apologize for Maitri
Okay.
Karar in Gujarat,
Okay, one
where
second,
a
one
married man
second.
can have a girlfriend.
Yes,
Tell
yes,
the
one
BJP
second.
to go away.
Let me make it
Don't
very
come
clear.
and give me moral lectures.
Let
Please
me
bring in
let
the
me
UCC.
let me make it very clear, viewers. We are
Please bring the
talking
UCC.
today of alternatives. That's what Rahul Gandhi promises. An alternative to the BJP that he calls a divisive party, a communal outfit. Is he doing himself any favors when his own chief ministers borrow a page? If I were to quote Asad, Abbas and Mr. Poonawalla from the BJP's playbook. Think about that. Why would you then vote for the Congress? You may as well continue to vote for the BJP. It's as simple as that, viewers. I rest my case. And by the way, when the Andhra government tried to bring out the same order, this particular show took them apart.
Yes.
They've done it this year also.
Okay.
They've done it this year
let
also.
me tell
No,
you.
no, they've done it
let
this
me
year
let
also.
me let
We
me
should
tell
take
you.
them on.
Let me tell you, viewers. Let me tell you that if you are all going to race to the bottom of the communal barrel, then that's the end of it. This Hindu-Muslim business that you see this one group of people keep accusing the BJP of doing, they are the biggest practitioners of this. Biggest practitioners. Let me even tell you something today which will startle you. There's a sectarian party called the MIM. The Congress says it's the B team of the BJP. In the state of Telangana today, viewers, they have alliances with the AIMM in corporations.
Correct.
Can you believe it, viewers?
Yeah, because we keep them under control. We make them follow the constitution. No Sharia, only constitution in Congress.
So viewers, tomorrow, if you can't beat somebody, join them. That's the logic we are being told. So join communal outfits and you'll be merry. You'll do well in life.
No, but Rahul Gandhi
Can
said
you imagine?
IMF was secular.
Instead of elevating your game, you go and start wallowing in the cesspit with others. Let's move on, viewers, because now we know where things stand. Let's move on. For years, it was stalled, this project caught between environmental objections, legal scrutiny and bureaucratic hesitation. Now with the NGT or the National Green Tribunal clearing the decks, the 9,000 crore Great Nicobar mega project, and you can see that, can finally become a reality. Project to be built at a cost of 80,000 crore to come up on a 166 square kilometer area in Great Nicobar Island, 130 square kilometers of forest land to be used for the project. Key highlights: an international container transshipment terminal. That's very key, viewers, and reduces our dependency on other ports like the Malaysian Port Klang, the Colombo port or Singapore port. An airport, a power plant and a township will also be built. This is not just another infrastructure story. Great Nicobar sits at the mouth of the Malacca Strait, one of the world's most critical maritime arteries. And I can show you another map that was made, viewers, which will show you the shipping routes. And we'll fire them in just 30 seconds. So let me tell you, the most critical maritime arteries. Let's pull out that from 7 o'clock rundown. Let's pull out that and let's put it out there, the map. Very good, that's it. Most critical maritime arteries, viewers. A third of global trade passes through these waters. For decades, India watched others build ports and weaponize geography to project influence and build their economies. Now, finally, India is attempting to do the same with the Great Nicobar project. Over the next few years, the project will deliver a deep draft transshipment port, viewers, an extended airfield, logistics hub, potential dual-use capacity. All this will mean reduced dependence on Colombo and Singapore, as you can see, viewers. A stronger eastern maritime flank in the shadow of China's expanding Indian Ocean presence. Supporters call it overdue strategic realism. Critics call it ecological overreach, pointing to fragile rainforests, seismic vulnerability, and indigenous communities like the Shompen. The questions are simple. Is the Great Nicobar project, or the Pearl of the Malacca as it's called, a long overdue great power move by India? Let's ask that question, viewers. Let's open this up. We will also bring you other graphics which will explain to you what the significance is. Mr. Harshvi Pant joins us. Let me come across to you, Mr. Pant. Put this into some context for us.
Hi, Rahul. I think this is a big piece of news and certainly much overdue. We have been talking about it, but in classic Indian style, we talk more and deliver less. And I think finally we have found the will after a long process through multiple institutional stakeholders that this has been cleared, which is very good news. And I think the context is very simple. Look, we are losing the battle in the maritime space where other actors are projecting power far and wide. And we have geography with us, which we have not used. We have not effectively leveraged our resources, domestic capacity. We keep saying we want to develop internal capacities. And here is something that has been with us and we have not been able to leverage it effectively. Eastern Indian Ocean is the center of gravity of the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. And here we have a prime real estate that we have to use and use to project power, use to contain those that are coming into this space, and essentially make sure that, of course, there are developmental issues, there are other issues that will come into being. But at some point, the state has to make a decision and move on. And I think this is a good time to look back and to reassure ourselves that some decision has been made. Okay. And hopefully we'll see fruition coming forward, because this is going to be very, very important in projecting power, in reestablishing India's credentials as a critical maritime power in this very important piece of geography.
Well, I must apologize to viewers because this map is blinking and making me dizzy. I'm sure it's making you dizzy at home, so we're going to try and pause this, viewers. Hopefully our director will do so. Thank you, Director Saab. Let's just pause this. Let's not give everybody an eye ache. Now, Mr. Pant, let me ask you before I bring in General Bakshi. Can the Great Nicobar project redefine great power relations in the Indo-Pacific?
Absolutely. And I think what has happened in the last few years is that we have seen a big push by China into Indian Ocean. And that big push, of course, we have India stands astride in Indian Ocean and India has a geographical advantage. But that geographical advantage is not being used in the way that we could have used in the past. And I think we are finally getting out of that defensive syndrome and we are pushing back. And this establishes our credentials as a country that is decisive about leveraging its capabilities. And this means that other partners that want to work with us will take us seriously and our adversaries will take us seriously. Because at this point, if you have something like the Andaman sitting there as prime real estate and we are not using them effectively, we are not ensuring that those capabilities are leveraged, everyone gets a message that we are not serious about our strategic positioning. And I think this has to go, and this finally has gone. And I'm sure that our partners are looking at this with great degree of confidence, and our adversaries will also think twice before venturing into this maritime space, which is increasingly critical, whether you talk of commerce, whether you talk of strategic positioning, whether you talk of maritime naval power. So I think everything merges here. And I think that's why this is so important.
Okay, so General Bakshi is there with us, and I just want to come out to you. General Bakshi, this is also an economic force multiplier, besides being a very important instrument to project power in the Indo-Pacific. So I just want to quickly explain to our viewers before I come out to you, General Saab, that you see that ring of ports, viewers, right now, when material is exported, it either goes to Port Klang, Colombo, or Singapore for transshipment, which is that your shipment is taken there and then another ship is brought in, and this is money lost to another nation. What this particular new project would do is to allow all these ports to export through ships to our own Galathea Bay, General Bakshi, our own port facility. We will retain that money in one sense. So, General Bakshi, that's one aspect of it. But how does this impact China in the long term?
Rahul, let me state unequivocally that the car Nicobar, that southernmost island of ours, is like an unsinkable aircraft carrier that dominates the most critical choke points of Malacca, Sunda, Lombok. It is through these three critical choke points that 30 to 40% of global trade passes. 80% of China's, energy traffic passes through these choke points. And if from, now that we have weaponized the car Nicobar, we can play merry hell into Chinese slocks, into the slocks of the rest of the world. We truly dominate the Indian Ocean region. Why was this becoming an area of concern? Look at China's forays into the IOR, the port at Gwadar, the port at Hambantota in Sri Lanka, the Kyukpyu port in Myanmar. They are trying to ring us around with that ring of pearl strategy. And these bases in the heart of the Indian Ocean region were something that was cause for concern. And this has been well addressed by the, upgradation. We're going to have a 3,500 meters long international airport, which also doubles as a major air base. Then we have the Galuthia Bay, as you have pointed out. All transshipment traffic, which was going to Colombo and to Singapore, now gets rerouted to the deep sea port. You see, our lighter weapons used to take it to the deeper ports at Colombo, deep sea ports at Colombo, deep sea ports at Singapore. Now we can do it at our own deep sea port. We don't need to transship, which is a major saving, a major gain, right? And for once the Andaman and Nicobar command has got some teeth now, we've got our Su-30s on the island. So this is an excellent decision that has been taken. About 80,000 crores plus will be invested over the next few decades, and we will then make it a projection capability of the most superlative order. Like this diagram of yours, a picture is worth 1,000 words. All the major shipping lanes go south of India. The peninsular India itself is like an unsinkable aircraft carrier that juts over these major sea lane slocks of the world. Now with our forward post at the car Nicobar, hardly 200 nautical miles from the Straits of Malacca, you see the chokehold we have over the Indian Ocean region. All countries of concern, China, America, United States, what have you, they will have to be very cognizant of the upgradation in Indian capabilities in the Indian Ocean region. Will truly make the Indian Ocean Indian.
Now, there are concerns, very quickly, Mr. Pant, ecological concerns.
See, Rahul, every project of this kind, and particularly in the in the islands, the kind of geography that we are talking about, will always evoke some concerns, and it is for the state Indian government to respond to those concerns in a manner that allays the real concerns that they have. And I think every developmental project carries costs, and therefore we have to understand the cost-benefit calculus, and we have to rectify wherever possible, alleviate those concerns. But I think the point here is something which has afflicted Indian decision-making for a very long time, that just because there are costs involved, we will not take decisions. And I think somewhere down the line, we have to get out of this syndrome that, of course, there are going to be costs involved. Not taking a decision also involves costs. The fact that we have not taken a decision on this has meant that we have lost power projection capability over these years. The fact that Chinese have ventured into IOR, the Chinese have been able to build capacities. We have not been able to surveil Malacca and South China Sea because of something that we are losing out every day.
Yes.
So I think it is that calculus that drives public policy. You simply can't say that because there are costs involved, we will not take a decision. And finally, that the decision has come. I would hope that whatever concerns, ecological, environmental, local habitation concerns that are there, they would be managed in a manner that also allows a local population to be a part of this developmental agenda rather than being alienated by this development agenda.
Well, it could set a template, viewers, for future such projects that are ecologically sensitive. If the Indian government pulls it off, give it confidence. We leave it at this, viewers. Thank you, General Bakshi. Thank you, Mr. Pant. Thank you, viewers, for watching. We're right back with Vantage.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
To sign some very consequential defense deals today. And it's the two gents to the right of your screen who have made that possible. It's President Macron, Prime Minister Modi. Viewers, for decades, Indian defense procurement operated under an invisible but powerful constraint. And that was, in simple terms, the fear of scandal. The fear of middlemen being caught paying kickbacks on behalf of defense firms to sway government and military officials to swing lucrative defense contracts. In the 1980s, the rupees 64 crore Bofors scandal marked the Indian defense establishment's descent into the mire of arms corruption and pockmarked the legacy of then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Since then, from artillery to helicopters to submarines, allegations, proven or unproven, have cast such long shadows that decision makers began preferring delay over decisiveness, not even concluding defense deals. Most of these cases that you can see on your screens erupted during the Congress-led UPA years. I'm talking about the VVIP chopper case of 2012, an alleged 3,000 crore deal for 12 VVIP helicopters. There's an alleged bribery link. Big companies and big players here in India were incriminated. Because there are other examples also, and let me run you through some of them. Beyond the VVIP chopper case, there was the Tatra truck procurement scandal that erupted in 2012. Allegations were raised by ex-Army Chief General V.K. Singh on irregularities in all-terrain vehicle supply. The CBI, however, closed the probe in 2014. No charge sheet was filed. There are other cases, viewers, and they litter the firmament. The result of this hesitancy that these scandals induced manifested in what many in uniform privately called a default veto on big ticket acquisitions. After controversies such as the VVIP helicopter case involving Augusta Westland or procurement news that led to prolonged investigations by the CBI, files slowed and extensions multiplied. A.K. Anthony, Defence Minister during the UPA years, openly admitted to this paralysis that threatened to blunt India's military edge. Viewers, against that backdrop, the Modi government seems like a breath of fresh air. And viewers, over the last many years now, there have been several procurements that have been made by the Modi government. The S-400 missile defense system was procured October 20.